We're here at Cage Chronicles. Today we've got James back as usual, and then we've got Paddy. How's it going, mate?
All good.
Good.
Yeah.
Paddy's a combat sports doctor, for you guys who don't know. We're going to be picking his brains about all things to do with combat sports and experiences and a bit about himself as well. But first of all, we're just going to go through what we've got this weekend. We've got a massive weekend, yeah?
Yeah, big weekend.
We've got four fight events this weekend. So we have Domination, where we have two of our fighters on, Aaron and Jed. And then we have Jackson over in Queensland fighting on Proving Grounds.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the Alter program, which we think about 17, 18 fighters on there from the Den who've just finished their 20-week program.
Yeah.
And then, tomorrow as well, we've got boxing WA, we've got Mace fighting. So we've got coaches all over the place doing different bits and pieces. So hopefully it's all going to go well. But good luck to everyone who's fighting on the weekend, and we'll bring you some more stuff about what's happening next weekend.
Yeah.
Have you been, James? Good?
I've been good, yeah. It's been a good week.
Nice.
Yeah. Your birthday yesterday?
My birthday. It was your birthday as well, wasn't it?
13th.
The 13th?
Yeah.
What did you do for your birthday?
I just went out for dinner with the kids, really. Nothing too startling.
Nothing too exciting?
Yeah.
No.
I'll have a party at some stage.
Next year. Next year, yeah.
It might be 54.
Yeah.
And we just did some extra rolls for Steve. I just let him work, get in some submissions and stuff gift him some submissions for his birthday, for a change, you know. So
Give him a good Shark Tank.
Yeah.
We did 47 minutes in a row, like no break, just like go, no breaks.
Yeah.
I'm 31, so I don't know why I did 47, but we did 47 minutes.
You feel 47.
Yeah, and I did a few rounds. He jumped in for MMA.
Oh,
Jumped in
yeah.
for some kickboxing as well.
I did some sparring after. So
With the stand-up stuff.
I got teed up by Shay.
Yeah, Shay was, the look in her eyes was, I could see she was enjoying herself, punching me in the face. Yeah.
It was fun. We've been waiting for a while. So, Paddy, so let us know a little bit about yourself. Obviously, you're a doctor. You do a lot more than combat sports. But what we know you from is from all the years I've been having guys fighting from Muay Thai, boxing, MMA. You seem to be there all the time.
There's a lot. I think in 2015 was the busiest year I've had, which I did 52 shows in. And
wow.
So it was a lot of shit. Like one a week. Sometimes there are 3 on a weekend, and sometimes I got a weekend off. But
all in Perth?
All in Perth.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay.
mostly Muay Thai. Yeah.
Muay Thai is massive over here.
Massive. I think that the amount of promotions has gone down a bit since then.
Yeah.
You know, we had Ignition and True Grit and Battle Colossal. I don't know if you remember all those ones.
Yeah.
We had all those back then. And obviously the epic shows as well with Riddler ran. So
that's right. Yeah.
You know, and there's quite a few of those. So that was quite a big thing. A bit about it cut me off because I can tend to ramble a wee bit.
That's fine. This is all about the rambling because James will fall asleep at some point and then he'll come back in and be all active. So rambling is fine. It'd be good to know like how you started off. Let's see what made you become a doctor originally, and then obviously push yourself into the doing the stuff with the athletes and the combat sports.
Yeah. So it was quite funny actually. I grew up, I was born in Belfast in Northern Ireland, and then my parents were doctors, moved over to London when I was really, really young, a few months old. And then Dad was going into London to work in the hospital every day, and you know the London commute, and Mum was stuck at home with 2 kids, so not overly happy, and said, we've got to get out of here. And at that time, Dad was at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, which his boss had just come back from Jamaica. And he said, listen, send us somewhere. And they said, well, there's a boat leaving for Jamaica in 2 weeks. It took 2 weeks to get across the Atlantic, packed up everything into tea-chests and got there when I was about 2 years old. Funny enough, halfway across the Atlantic, my sister, who I think was 2 at the time, she's a year older than me, fell down one of the gangplanks and went unconscious for about 8 hours.
Wow.
God. My dad was, and she blew a pupil, and my dad was got the engineer to get his drill out to drill her ahead, you know, because there's nothing else there.
Yeah.
But luckily she slowly started to wake up, and that was all right. But I grew up in Jamaica in the West Indies, which, you know, during the sort of 70s and 80s, it was a big sort of cricketing. You probably think about, you know, the West Indies, and it was massive. You know, cricket was massive. Football, so soccer was probably the next biggest thing. And then the next thing was boxing.
Yes.
You know, so boxing was pretty big up here.
So after cricket, you said boxing was the second biggest one.
Well, probably at football, but not. Football.
Like
so soccer. Yeah. Real football. Yeah. And then boxing. So what in downtown Kingston they had a satellite dish which was about 3 times the size of this cage. Which picked up and pirated all the sports events from the States. Right. And we only had one channel, which was the JBC channel, Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation. Yeah. And on Thursday, they just played all the boxing from the week, all pirated stuff, obviously, but nobody cared, you know. Yeah. So Thursday night at fights, I remember going up and doing an elective in St. Anne's Bay, which is a small place in the north coast of Jamaica, but nothing happened. So no operations are scheduled for Thursday nights because that's Thursday night at the fights. Everybody goes home, watch the fights. So I remember sitting, even as a relatively young kid, less than 10, definitely, maybe 7 or 8, and we were sitting on the bed with my old man, watching fights, and that was early 80s, the Hagler Holmes kind of a thing coming down.
Awesome era.
Yeah, I think Oliver McCall and a few of the heavyweights like Mike McCallum, who was a Jamaican and stuff like that. We'd be sitting there scoring fights and stuff like that, which was good fun, and then tallying up whether his was more accurate than mine, all that. So that was pretty good. And then after that, I went off to Northern Ireland. Did a wee bit of boxing in Northern Ireland.
How old are you then? Roughly 10?
Around about 12.
Okay.
11, 12. And then did a wee bit of boxing in Northern Ireland. Nothing serious or fantastic and all that. But then all my mates were playing rugby, and then you sort of became a wee bit of the outsider because all your mates are playing the game. They all come back from rugby and talking about the game, and you're like, I might as well try that. Yeah. So I really got into rugby, and especially the first year in university, I went to university in the University of Dundee in Scotland. Yeah. And again, all my mates were playing rugby, so I just played rugby. Probably played a bit too much, because we had games on a Wednesday and a Saturday, and so Thursday you go out after a game. So Thursday at medical school was just you didn't go
right off.
It was a write off. So all my friends would say, "Oh, Paddy's got Thursday morning flu again from the rugby the night before." But I played for a long time throughout my university sort of career. 1994, I played for Dundee High School FP a wee bit, which is sort of one of the more premier grade clubs. And then after uni, I was like, what do I do? And then one of my mates who had come over from New Zealand to play with Dundee High School FP, I phoned him up and said, what are you doing? He says, well, I'm playing down in Spain just now, but I'm about to move up to Sweden.
Right.
And play in Sweden. Why don't you just come over and do some tryouts in Sweden? So I went over to Sweden and we did tryouts for rugby, and they went okay. So I basically spent most of a season over there.
Wow.
which was pretty good. Then caught up with a Swedish girl, but I just don't like the cold. Like growing up in the West Indies, I kind of feel the cold.
But in Ireland, you would have been cold.
I know. Ireland was cold. Scotland was cold in university. I mean, playing rugby on bloody frozen rugby pitches. And you're just like, no. It's just not pleasant. I'd prefer to get kicked or punched in the face. But anyway, then when I was playing rugby in university, obviously I was in medical school, so I was one of the few guys in medical school playing in the rugby team. And so any medical thing that came, it's like, can you look after this? Can you look at that? And it's like, well, I'm a kind of a medical student, but I'll give you an opinion. It might not be very accurate or right. Well, I'll give you a go. So I just started a wee bit of a sort of taste in sports medicine back then in university. I then came over here, and then I was down at Associates Rugby Club in Swanbourne. Yeah. Played rugby for them for quite a few years, and again, all the stitching of guys and all the kind of stuff, and it just got, it was a wee bit of drift into sports medicine side of things. And in Joondalup, where I was working in I think 2007ish, one of the girls who worked for Sports Medicine Australia and said, "Do you want to come along and do stuff like the Roto swim and a bit of I think there was a World Judo Championships here and a bit of water polo and a bit of cycling as well."
Yeah.
And that was quite a bit of fun. And then they said, "Hey, do you want to come down and do boxing, amateur boxing?" I was like, "Well, a bit of interest in boxing, so I'll come down and do that." And I think they were really struggling for doctors to look after amateur boxing. And, we can go into the reasons behind that later on if you want. So I did that and quite liked it, and I found it was just, a lot more pleasant, than I did a few AFL things, and you go, "Oh, my shoulder's a bit sore. Can you put some cortisone into it like half an hour before a game?" It's like, how long have you known about this? Ages, And it's like, now you want to. Have you tried any Panadol and Nurofen? No, I need you to stick a cortisone in it. It's like, no, you don't kind of determine what the treatment is, and it was much sort of nicer with the combat sports. So they said, "Do you want to come along and just keep on doing amateur boxing?" So I think in 2007, 2008, maybe in 2009, most of my stuff was just amateur boxing, and that was in the old embassy ballrooms. I don't know if you remember those.
I'm not sure.
Down in Lath Lane. Yeah, they were old school. And then one of the guys said, "Hey, do you want to do pro boxing event?" And I did that. And then the Muay Thai guy said, "Do you want to do Muay?" And it just
grew from there.
Then the MMA kind of.
Are you working like outside of combat sports at the same time?
Yeah, doing emergency medicine. So in 2007, I was doing Joondalup Hospital, and then a few different places until 2010. And then I worked 5 years down in Bunbury. Mm-hmm. So I'd work 5 days down in Bunbury, come up, do a full week's work, come up for a weigh-in on a Friday, do a show on Saturday, a weigh-in before the show on a Saturday, like Ignition. It was always on a Sunday. So, often you'd have, like a Thunderdome, and then a Muay Thai, and then an Ignition.
Because Thunderdome was usually Friday night, and then Ignition was a Sunday, and it had like 30 people on the fight shows.
And they go forever.
They go forever.
You're up so late.
That was Peter Boyd's, wasn't it?
Yeah, out to John Forrest out in Morley. Yeah. So that was a pretty busy time, with doing events and 2 small kids and stuff like that. So, but there was nobody else to do it back then. So it was a busy time. Sometimes you just want your weekend to yourself to say, "I'm not scheduling anything."
And everyone's like, "No, but I've got this one show."
Yeah, but what am I going to do? And then you feel a bit bad. You
get friendly with them all.
Yeah, you get friendly, and then you're letting down a mate by saying, "Oh, you can't do my show. We might have to cancel and all that kind of stuff." "Oh, it's all right, I'll do it."
So then, did you move out of emergency?
No, I'm still in emergency.
Oh, so
still in emergency now. Yeah, so I'm still in emergency now. I did quite a few locum shifts. So when I left Bunbury in 2016, I was doing shifts in Kalgoorlie and Northam and Broome, and mostly Broome when the weather was good. So about this kind of time, But it was good. But then I'd do a period of time, and around about that sort of period of time, another doctor, Dan Lopez, came on board.
Dan. It's either you or Dan usually. Yeah,
that's right. And which was really, really good and handy, because it's good having, you get people coming in who are doctors, and it's like you get fighters coming into the gym who go, "Hey, I really want to fight. I really want to fight." They get on and realize what it's about, and go, "Oh, you never see them again." And it's the same with doctors. They come, "Hey, it'd be super to stand it, to go to a fight show and see what it's all about," and then you realize it's actually a lot more work than just sitting watching a fight. You have to you have to do the pre-fight medicals before. You have to treat everybody after, and you have to be at the ring and tend to anything at the ring as well.
So say a standard MMA fight show, that's like a 12-hour, maybe 10-hour something day like that. If you're getting there beforehand, doing.
Then you got afters. I mean, I went to a Thai boxing event. I can't remember.
Muay Thai GP.
No, it was one where like everyone got cut.
Yeah,
and it was like there's seats of all these lads plus one of the guys we were with, all had to get stitched up, and then when they'd finished, had to go and then just one by one stitch everyone.
Yeah. So Muay Thai GB has a lot of fights on it, or did have a lot of fights on it when it was round, and it would so you go and your Friday night's gone.
Yeah.
You know,
So
because
you've already done that.
You've already done. So you say your weigh-in's at 6. It might take till maybe 7:30, 9 to your weigh-in. Last Muay Thai GP fight started at 2 p.m. and was finished at midnight, and then you start stitching the guys up. You know, if there's just you, and there's a day or a night I left after 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. 3 a.m. in the morning, which kind of screws up your next day as well.
Because it's a long day for us. But it would be definitely, you have to. We can last fight is out.
Because you have to wait till the end, and it's like, oh, just get the doctor now. No, he has to be ringside, obviously, because there's something going to happen. Now the fights are finished. Okay, now he deals with all the injuries. Of like the stitching, especially. The stitching.
So the R&Js are good. They have to be there at every fight, but they rotate around.
Right.
So people can go out and maybe have a cup of coffee and have a bite to eat outside halfway. And it's like if it's a sort of a 10-hour day, it's like, okay, and because they got so many fights, they're rushing them in and rushing them out, which means, I need a pee. I've got to bring these guys out. And you realize, all right, well, I said to that guy I'd see him in the first break, but I really need to pee. Which do I do? And then you go and see him because you feel bad. And then it's like, got back to him and say, shit, they're bringing out the fighters. And I haven't had a pee yet. You know?
I've noticed on the last Eternal, like, I think it was you were ringside, and then Dan was at the back doing the after checks. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's great having two doctors for a couple of reasons. One is that, if it's televised and there's no breaks in TV, so you don't have these big things. If anybody gets seriously injured, then there's two hands there to do it. And also, when you're running things fairly consecutively, if somebody, I remember at one of the domination shows down in Byford, a guy got knocked out pretty badly. And I was like, all right, I've got to go and spend a bit of the time, make sure this guy was all right, I was like, you okay, whatever, just do you want me to get you this? Just, is there somebody with you that can come out and get me if I'm at the next fight show and stuff like that? Or next fight. Walk back out, and the other fight had already started. It's like, what happens if there's something happens? Now, you're not allowed to start a fight without a doctor being ringside, but the referee didn't check. And I was like, you can't just do that. But sometimes things get missed, you know? Yeah. So it just puts a lot of pressure on. With two doctors there, then there's not going to be any delay there. There's always going to be someone ringside,
so, which is so much easier, because I think they've got the UFC Fight Pass deal. So they have to run from 6 p.m. or whatever and make sure it goes boom, boom, boom and bash it out. So you can't really stop. And then if 2 years are there, it's so much better, I think.
Well, it is. But even not just even for Eternal or any of the bigger shows, but for some of the smaller shows, it's good as well. But then you bring in sort of cost and availability of doctors. And so often, there's two fights, Muay Thai or boxing or whatever on the same night. Yeah. Dan's doing one and I'm doing the other.
And so you're still doing both now, emergency and fights, but are you just sort of like scheduled to make it more like easier on you? So you're not doing like a 60, 70 hour week sort of?
Yeah, well, I was working till after midnight last night, but with having Dan there and he can split, a bit of pieces, it's a lot easier. So if people give me early notice of fight shows, then work are really good, and they'll say, hey, we won't schedule you for that day or the evening before for a weigh-in, which is pretty good.
Yeah. What does Dan do then for other than the fight shows?
So he assists in theatre operating. Okay. Often at Murdoch where I work. I think he works at Hollywood as well.
Right, okay.
So it's good.
Yeah. And then he obviously, like you said, is invested in the combat side of things. Otherwise, it doesn't really work.
Well, he would never have been doing it as long as he had unless you're invested, because the novelty wears off. It's like I did a bit of aeromedical retrieval, pulling people on a Learjet out of Southeast Asia who'd come off their bikes and stuff like that. And it's like, what do you get out of this? It's like the first one you'll do for free. The second one you want to get paid, and you won't do a third one. Kind of a thing. The novelty wears off, and you realize it's a lot of slog.
There's a lot of that. I found that even when I started first cornering for the MMA. Like I got asked, I think Oldham was the first person to ask me to corner, and then I think it was Courtney, and then Kevin, and then now just like cornering like a lot. But at first you're like, it's like this super exciting. You get to be there. You can see everybody wants to be like. Steve asked someone like, "Can you help out the back?" It's like we're on. Like, they're super exciting. And then before you know it, you realize this is work. Like, it's so, you get there for the rules meeting, and then you're all the way through until you don't watch any of the fights. Like, especially if it's split. Like, if you've got guys on early and then a guy on late, you're not going out and chilling out and watching the fights. If you are, you kind of, the whole time you're thinking like,
well, you look, watch, when's his fight? Am I 3 fights out, or 2 fights out, or has he got his hands wrapped? Has he got a mouth guard with him?
By the end of the night, you are exhausted. Like, you haven't fought, but you are so, you're at your nerves, everything. And so, like, you're talking about this weekend at the start of the podcast, there's this many fights. It's
a massive weekend.
So Steve's going to be, obviously, not just thinking about the one he's at, he's thinking about the ones that are happening on over east, and the boxing and this and that. And then already I'm like, preparing for 2 days of cornering. And no, by like come the end of it, you're gonna be
you just whacked. And often at the end of those fight shows, I'm whacked, because not only do I have to think about, I've got to stitch that guy, I hope he doesn't disappear before. That guy that got knocked out, if I've asked the corner to come see me if he gets worse, or go to hospital, or see me before. I hope he hasn't left the building. Plus, I have to watch the fight that's happening right now. Your priority is a fight that's happening right now, because little things can happen, and if you're not paying attention, referees have to pay attention, but then they get a bit of a break, as I said. But you have to pay attention all the time. Somebody gets, a shot in the head, and they go down. I've had this at a boxing fight, and I just noticed the way they go down. He was knocked out, and we're focusing on his head, making sure he's okay. And when he came to, it was like, "Are you okay?" It's like, my ankle. And I was like, "Yeah, I noticed that." And his ankle was dislocated.
Right.
He just got knocked out cold, and that actually wasn't the major injury. It was his ankle, which was a major injury.
I'll see that quite. I've seen that on a Crow Cop got knocked out.
Yeah.
Of all things, he was against Gonzala in a UFC fight, and Crow Cop always knocked everyone with a head kick, but he got knocked out, and his ankle and knee just went. As soon as you watched it, you was like, "Oh, it's a bad knockout," but like, it's something up with his leg,
Something's not quite right.
Yeah. So you do have to be on point to see all these different little movements and injuries and stuff.
So if I noticed that with him as he went down, as soon as he wakes up. So this thing's in the back of your head when he wakes up. Ask him about his ankle, but it was pretty obvious then, because he was like,
So that sort of like, novelty, like you were saying, it does wear off. And then, sometimes you think, like, I'm sure you probably think this, like, everyone thinks they want, Paddy's like ringside, he gets to cage side, it's the best, it's amazing, gets to like interact with the fighters and all. Yeah, it is, but also you probably would be happy to, you doctor for tonight, I want to sit in the, I'm going to sit in the crowd and just enjoy the fights.
Well, I did do that at Eternal one night, because I was booked in it for another fight show, and I said to the guys, hey, if I can come early, I'll come early. So I came early, and the other fight show finished earlier. I went up into the crowd. My missus actually came along as well. And that was the evening Jack Becker broke his leg.
Oh. I was there, but I was backstage.
Yeah.
I just heard the audience go, and then someone told me, I was like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
See, there was another doctor there who was inexperienced, and Dan was out stitching the guys from before, because, he's a fantastic man. I got a lot of time for Dan Lopez. He stitches. He just gets on and does it. Doesn't complain.
Yeah,
loves the scene. So the other guy was actually at that, which I think he was actually employed by one of the companies.
Right.
He unfortunately, I think, hadn't done much sports medicine before and just freaked out.
Yeah.
So he gave him the green whistle. The green whistle is just a bit of plastic. It's a medicine that you pop in it, which does it. So you give him the green whistle, and it's like, it's not much. It's like, have you put the methoxyfluoride?
So did you come?
I came down from the thing.
You seen the leg break and you went.
Well, I didn't I want to tread on toes, because I wasn't employed at the event. So it's a bit of a how long do I leave it before I step in, and I realize
if he's sucking on a whistle that's got nothing in it.
Yeah, but I realize that they're out of their depth a wee bit.
Did you come straight down and go out the back and just sort of?
Well, he was still in the cage,
right.
So I was like, we'll look at see how they're handling it. All right, they don't have a clue. I'm going to have to head down.
Yeah,
so I walked in and I said, "Hey Jack, how you doing?" And he goes, "Oh, I could be better, mate." Typical Jack. Lovely guy. So we got some medicine into him and then got it all stabilized and got him.
So you didn't even get to have a night off and enjoy the fight.
I know, that was
night,
it. Yeah, that's right. And that sometimes happens, but that's all right.
Yeah.
That's
where you're invested, right?
Yeah. Is there any other sport I'd rather do? No.
Yeah. No.
You know, and that's it. Is there any other job outside my emergency medicine job that I'd rather do? No. Yeah. You know, you get the guys, like, you do their certificates of fitness every year. They come around to your house, you know. If you're not too busy, you can have a coffee or something like that, you know. You have a yarn with them. They tend to be pretty good guys, because the people who, and you can really tell the difference between first-time fighters and the fighters who are like, you know, Jack or Steve Ercheg or you know, Quillen or not just the UFC guys, but guys who've been in it for a long time, Alden, and you know, they come around and everything's cool, and they, you know,
calm, they've been there
calm,
before,
and they turn up on time, and you know, have a bit of a yarn. And
Alden turns up on time?
He does. No, he does. I've had two people this morning not turn up on time when I've been doing their medicals, but yeah, Alden does turn up on time.
Okay, well, that's... Turns up on time for Paddy, but...
Sorry, guys. Moses turns up on time.
Yeah, I wouldn't
no, he doesn't.
We know he's lying. If he says Moses turns up on time.
No, he doesn't. But, you know, it's sometimes you get a bit frustrated when you have guys and, you know, you book them in for a time and say, like, I was working till midnight, got to sleep at about 2:30 last night, you know, and you book guys for 8 o'clock in the morning, means that you've had maybe 5 and a bit hours sleep, and then they don't show up. It's a bit annoying. But that's, you know, I think fighters don't do that when they've had 20 fights. They do that. It's all first-time fighters, right. You know, you know, I'm sure if it was football, AFL or soccer, it would be a lot worse. You know?
Yeah, right. I can imagine. So with being in it like for so long now, obviously you've gone through the timeline of all the time you've been in this, and you must have seen some pretty severe injuries as well. Let's talk about Jack Becker. So obviously a lot of them wouldn't be severe injuries, but you obviously do jiu-jitsu as well. Obviously you got your Bravos, the top one. I've seen you compete before.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
We'll get him. Can I get a Wolves Den hoodie? So you're doing your jiu-jitsu, obviously done boxing for a while.
Yeah.
Does seeing the injuries, seeing the concussions, seeing everything like that put you off doing the combat sports stuff?
No.
Or does it, like, what's your thought process there?
You know, my thought process, you know, we had this whole thing on bare knuckle boxing and stuff like that, and it's kind of hard to get
that was one of my questions as well.
You know, the medical fraternity and the politicians to realize, if you had a sport like this as highly regulated in many of the other sports, it wouldn't be the injuries there are. I'm much more concerned if I'm playing rugby and I hear, Paddy, come over, there's an injury, and I haven't caused. You know, on one of the other pitches, I'm much more concerned about that, because it's much more likely to be a serious injury. I actually haven't had, you know, I've been doing, so 2007 I started amateur boxing. What's this, 18 years ago now? A lot of fight shows, you know. I've had two guys, one in a charity, and one guy in amateur boxing, I think it was his first fight, who had blood in his head after a fight. Right. No ongoing issues with that. Spent a few days in hospital, came out, no problems. You know, I've had, say, Jack with his leg. I've had ankle injuries. I've had knee injuries. You remember Louis at that battleground? Had his knee injury. None of these are life or limb threatening injuries. They're a pain in the ass, and they take a long time to get better. You know, shoulder dislocations, elbow dislocations, hand fractures, you know, rib fractures, you know, jaw fractures, cheek fractures. None of them are life or limb threatening. And then you get a guy on a rugby field who's just been tackled, and, you know, you try and stabilize him and get him to hospital. His blood pressure's going down. He's looking like shit, you know, and you realize he's got what's called an open book pelvic fracture, with really your pelvic is a ring and it just splits out like that. Wow. The problem is, from sort of impact, the problem is that you got pretty significant blood vessels around there. They sever. You can die. You know, you can die from open. There's been one from surfing in G-Land, which would have been an absolute pain in the ass to get out of there. Surfing, you know, G-Land's on Java, and a 7-hour ride with very little pain relief. I think they've got a helipad there now. You know, you strap up their pelvis to try and close that ring. This guy he was actually a mate of mine, or he is a mate of mine. He got to hospital okay and survived. But those are life-threatening injuries.
Yeah.
I've done so many. I mean, you think, you know, if there's 20 fights per contest in 2015, which was a busy year, it was 50 contests, that's 1,000 fights a year, and nothing significant. That's in 1 year.
But if you said this to someone who doesn't really watch combat sports, or not watch it, but has something to do with it, they'd be thinking, well, you're going into a fight where you're going to try and hurt someone. You know what I mean? That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to cause damage, because damage caused is going to score you a win. So they go, no, it's definitely going to be worse than other sports. But the problem is, I've thought about this as well, is like, you say rugby, like I've got one, say I'm going to fight you, and we're facing each other, and we're fighting, and maybe you're better, maybe something happens and my knee goes or whatever. But if I haven't got some massive guy running from behind me, taking my leg out where I don't see him and I get the impact, or you're not up on something like a bike or a surfboard where you're falling from a height, and then you're going to get at that speed. So people don't think about that way. They think, well, no, he's trying to cause damage. Yeah, you are as a sport. You're trying to outpoint them, and that is the purpose of it. But sometimes not as dangerous as other sports.
Not at all. And you know, I think one of the funny things about medicine, and it's, you know, you can say the same about jiu-jitsu. Say it's not everything is logical.
Yeah.
You know, in jiu-jitsu, logically the big guy wins, the strong guy wins. You know, and then you get a 60 kilo guy, like, I don't know if you've DK or Igor or something like that.
You went against.
I've faced Igor.
It's like, Jesus, this is like a monkey on my back.
Yeah.
You know, I should just be able to smash this guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's playing with you, you know. And so it's obviously technique comes into it. But, you know, cycling, I don't know anybody who cycles regularly, and quite a few doctors cycle, who haven't had a limb or life-threatening injury.
Right.
I've had a few guys who have broken their necks. You know, there's a guy playing rugby in Netherlands about a month ago, broke his neck. You don't see all calls to ban rugby or anything like that.
Well, we've got a guy here now, Jack, he just got his blue belt, but he's just come from rugby. And I asked him the other day, he's like, oh no, I stopped playing now. He's playing for the Giants, Tune-Up Giants. But he was saying to me, he just said, I just decided like this was safer. And I'm like, it's so hilarious, because I'm like, so we're actually trying to break each other's limbs, and Zane competes all the time. And he's like, he goes, it's just safe. I get less injuries here. He goes, I just figure I can always tap, you know, like I can just tap. And he's like, exactly what we were just saying about the rugby field and stuff. Like, you've just got that. It's just so he's actually stopped playing rugby and then come across.
You can't like be playing rugby and someone runs at you and they're coming at you and you go, oh, stop. That's You're not going to do that.
Yeah. Well, one of my last concussions in rugby, I've had a number of concussions. I think I've had 5 scans of my head from rugby.
Right,
and 20-something concussions. And some people say that explains a lot. But I was playing in a grand final, and I was going in for trying. A big Kiwi bloke or Samoan bloke came over and just clotheslined me. We got a penalty try because it was obviously, but I don't remember that.
Right, yeah.
It was all on TV. I look back on TV and just go, wow. And then we went to receive kickoff after thing. Normally I used to kick the goals, but I couldn't do that because I didn't know where to put the ball, you know. It's a penalty try. You know exactly where to put the ball, right in front of the post.
I'm not sure I'm supposed to be doing it.
I'm not. I've been playing rugby at that stage for 20 years. I didn't know where to stand to receive kickoff. Yeah. You know, and that should have sparked some kind of this guy's not right, you know. And then the first thing I went to tackle the guy and I got a knee in the head. And I went off to hospital. Now, I don't remember any of that, you know, but there was nobody medical at the ground, even in a grand final.
Wow, that's crazy.
There was nobody looking and saying, hey, this guy is obviously concussed, you know. The last time I got concussed was on a bike accident. I was going 70 k's an hour down Rochdale Road, and a truck pulled out in front of me, you know, and that was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I woke up at 11 o'clock at night in Charlie's, you know, after having I don't remember going in the ambulance, having a scan of my head, all these kind of things. So, you know, I think I've thought about it a lot in terms of sports, and we got to look at the reality of sports, not the perception. Once you start looking at perceptions of things rather than reality, right, you get brought down a rabbit hole that's just all wrong.
But it's all perception when you're making laws regarding it. It was the way where the cage got banned.
Yeah,
it was the perception of the cage well, actually, it's a lot safer. We're still going to do it.
A lot safer.
It's going to be a lot safer because you're not going to fall out.
Yeah.
You're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. No, but it looks like it's like cage fight. Like, no, it looked worse for a person who wasn't really involved in the sport.
Yeah, and I remember sitting, having guys fly out through the ropes, you know, beside me, land on the head. Remember we used to have this bell which had a steel frame on it. Was it
Gustavo against Kai France?
Yeah, Kai France.
But that happened to, unless it was that, not a fight, but it was that.
Yeah,
that same thing happened. Gustavo ran him, got him out the ring ropes, just like through to the ropes, and then he hit his head on the bell.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was the same one, but it happened a while because I had a Thai boxing fight. The same thing happened to me. I landed on the judge's desk. He fell out the ring. So
it's crazy. So, you know, I think there's a few, and this is what I said. I think that was way back in 2015 or 16 or something like that when Colin Barnett brought in the cage ban. But the good thing about the cage is, number one, people can't get ejected from it. You know, unless you want to jump over the ropes like and also people can't get into it. So if you got somebody who's been injured in the fight, then you got space to look after them. You know, because often, like in a boxing fight, you know, there'll be the corner going this and the corner going this, and everybody will be jumping into the ring. You're like, give the guy give the guy a bit of space. There's only one or two entry and exits, and they can't all rush in. So you can actually do what you can do.
And these days you got a guy on the door as well.
And they're doing that. And I think that all around, like all states, I've had fights in recently, it's been the same. It's been like someone's been hurt or knocked out, and they've locked the door and they've gone, doctor, you can't go in until the doctor says you can, and then the doctor lets you in, and it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Well, it's really, really handy because you used to have to say or hope the referee would keep people back, and then but there's people trying to get in
the boxing rings. They just come. Yeah, that's a good point.
You can't keep everybody out because you can't man all sort of corners.
The bare knuckle ban, like here in Perth, obviously that was going to be on. Yeah, and then they nixed it, but. Yeah, what's your point of view on that? I mean, my point of view is like it's like MMA. We're allowed to you're throwing your shins at people's heads and your elbows and stuff spinning back. Like, what's the difference? Like, if guys want to do it, like they can do it. Right? It gives them a way to earn money and stuff like that. It's a sport.
So from my point of view, there's two aspects of it. And the first aspect is, do I like that more than regular boxing or Muay Thai or MMA? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think I've seen enough of bare knuckle boxing itself. From what I've seen, it seems fairly dirty boxing, and I quite like the sort of more the cleaner kind of a thing. But in terms of whether it should be permitted to occur or not, what I think of it is really irrespective. It doesn't make one button. Whether I like it aesthetically. It doesn't make one button a difference to whether it should occur. Is it? If my opinion is, do you like it? It's just an opinion. You know, if I think it should occur or not, you're asking me on my basis of being a doctor and a health.
That's more what I'm getting at. Not more because I don't like it neither here nor there. But say someone like Mike Perry, he didn't do well in MMA, or he did okay, like did well. Okay, obviously he did well, but he didn't get to the upper echelon, like and complete it. Yeah. But in bare knuckle, he's like the bare knuckle king. The king, right? So if you said no, we're not doing bare knuckle, well, you've just taken that away from that guy, right? Whether you like it or not.
Well, you know, it's funny you should say that because, and this digresses, and I'll get back to it about the health aspects of bare knuckle boxing, but. You know, my son's really into lacrosse just now. I never had lacrosse. What happens if I would have been a great, water polo player, but he was just never exposed to it? Because all I had was rugby and cricket and athletics and what was it? I can't remember the other one we had in school. So we only had a limited amount of sports.
In England, we had rugby, football, and then cross country. That was the three you did, and occasionally you do basketball.
Yeah, we had rugby and hockey were winter sports, and athletics and cricket were summer sports. And if you didn't like any of them, tough. Yeah, you know. And now my son playing soccer, loved soccer, switched across to lacrosse. He's found his niche. His niche. That's his sport now. Yeah. You know, and I think some people, like you were saying, some people can do a bit of MMA. Bit of normal boxing, bit of Muay Thai, and then they find bare knuckle boxing. They love it. That's their niche. And why should we deny them that? Well, I think the only reason we should deny them that is based on a health reason, and there aren't really the health reasons there in the evidence so far to say no. So, are cuts increased in bare knuckle boxing? Yes, they are. There's no doubt about it.
That's right.
You know. Are concussions increased? No.
Because they can't. Because
you're still getting the same impact.
You're still getting the same impact. Well, you know, it's you're getting
maybe less impact
because you can't hit as hard.
And stuff.
Yeah, and well, I think there's a number of aspects of that, and you have to wonder why there's less concussions. One, you know, there's 5 2-minute rounds, not 10 or 12.
Yeah.
The rounds are shorter. If somebody gets knocked down because of a cut, they're more likely to finish it. So not that many actually even go for the 5 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So you might say, hey, you know, it was stopped midway through the second round because of cuts or because he just, you know, was knocked down.
Yeah.
So maybe, you know, if you're doing a 8, 10, 12 round boxing fight, then those repetitive, and we know repetitive subconcussive impacts have probably even more of an impact on your long-term health than that one knockout that you get.
Yeah.
You know.
So let's say they approved it and they were like, "Oh, Paddy, we want you to, you know, be the doctor for bare knuckle." You're not gonna like, whether you like it or not, you're not gonna boycott it. You're just gonna look at it like a sport, and you're gonna be there. Yeah.
So for that one that was supposed to come here, I was gonna head up a team with myself and Dan, and then orthopedic surgeon, 2 orthopedic surgeons, and a plastic surgeon. So nowhere that I know of in the history of UFC, One, Pride, whatever, all other things, have they actually had specialists in the particular fields be there to say, hey, listen, you know, we're going to refer you to, you know, the emergency department because we don't have a hand surgeon here. Guess what? We've got one there.
Right.
You know, we got a maxillofacial surgeon here. If you get any issues here, we got plastic surgeon you can on site.
So they're going to provide all this sort of stuff.
I mean, this is already happening, like, in my algorithm's like terrible on Instagram, but it's already happening. Like there's like street fights, bare knuckle fights all over the place, like underground.
Yeah, and
so by doing this, you push it more underground. Whereas this way brings it more as like a professional sport that we can treat, or like people could, if they wanted to, treat professionally and more respectable rather.
Well, I think you know that there's. Yeah, I look at those. Well, I try not to, but look at those sort of backyard street brawls and stuff, and I just think, oh, I'm not that keen on that.
No,
you know? It's that kind of thing where there's no medical supervision on site. If there's an issue, you know, I've seen some terrible things where people, you know, more in rugby than in where they're concussed. I remember a guy getting concussed. And it was like, oh, he's really sleepy. You know, we're all having beers. Give him a beer and put him under a bench and see if he's all right at the end of the night, kind of a thing. You just go, whoa, you know. But, you know, and those kind of things as well, you know, you don't know how long it'll go. And for me, competition isn't about trying to settle scores. It's not like you hate the guy, you're going to bash him up.
Well, that's not a sport.
And it is. But this is what the politicians are comparing it to.
Yeah.
You know, when you have 2 guys outside of a nightclub who, you know, you look to my girlfriend's boobs or something like that, I'm going to smash you. It's like, what? It's completely different. You know, and you know, you have this. So they compare it to that where, you know, it's outside. It's on concrete. I've never seen a neck injury or, you know, as I say, a significant head, you know, have you ever seen a head laceration to the back of the head from hitting the pavement in a ring?
Oh, not in a ring. No. I've seen it on the,
you know, it happens all the time. We get them all the time in the emergency department.
Bouncing the head off the concrete.
Bouncing the head off the concrete. And you look at it and just go, ooh.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I'm asked to provide legal advice for assaults, and you have the video footage, and you go, Jesus, that's going to cause some.
Because it's often issues. Not the strike; it's the head on the floor. That's why you're looking at cycling and things like that, where they're falling from a height. Obviously, it's going to be worse. Even if they've got helmets on, they get the impact on the floor. You know,
absolutely.
It's kind of the cage all over again with the bare knuckle thing, in a sense. Kind of.
It's the same stories that we're coming up 10 years ago, or coming up again. But it's about perception and. I think we did do a bit of a thing with the ABC, you know, maybe a month ago or so about the perception of it. And, you know, the guy said, well, it shouldn't be happening because of health reasons. And I said, well, actually, the health reasons show it's probably, you know, at least as safe as a lot of the sports that are around now. Oh, well, it's not a health reasons issue. It's a where do we draw the line in the sand? Land in the sand of what?
Yeah.
Is it ethics? Because if it's ethics... You know, I think we're pretty pushed in terms of other ethical aspects of life. obesity, you know, sexual, you know, putting it out there, and you know, OnlyFans, young girls, but etc. You know, you see some of the girls going down, and you know, they're bloody young teenagers in G-strings on the beach, and you go, what? You know, and you're just like, you're quite happy to let all that, from an ethical point of view, go in terms of early sexualization of what are essentially minors. But you're not happy to have two consenting adults get into a cage or a ring, knowing all the risks, you know, and box on.
What annoys me about it the most is that you're just taking away the ability for that guy to get a paycheck as well. So maybe, and I actually saw a few posts of guys that were lined up to be on that Perth card, and they sort of were like, you know, really, they're like upset about it. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like their choice. And yeah, like if Steve head kicks me in an MMA fight with his shin to my head, that's way worse than like, you know,
absolutely.
But it is the compound. Like the two things is what you said before is the perception. That's the main thing. Yeah. And secondly, the comparing it to, it's like a street fight. Well, no, it's a sport, because in an attack outside. Yep. If you attack me, I'm not allowing you to attack me. I'm not saying it's okay if you attack me. Yep. It's like, but if we go into a ring or a cage, okay, I'm training for this. I'm willing to be in here. You're willing to be here. There is a rule set.
And you're not drunk.
Yeah, exactly. We're not drunk. We've been tested. Everything else. Like, we're gonna fight. And there is a rule, and if something happens, then you're going to stop the fight. Or
there's a ref, there's a doctor.
It's a sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think they're not comparing apples with apples. Then, you know, and I think that's the biggest thing. And all these are non-valid arguments to stop something just because they don't like it because of their perception of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so I don't know. Every time you pass a law or prevent someone from doing something that they're consenting, you're taking away a freedom of theirs, you know, and how far do you go, you know, if it's not impacting on anybody else, you know, just because you don't like it, because you haven't been exposed to it, it doesn't mean that you've then got the right to say, hey, because I don't like it, I'm gonna go on this crusade to get it banned. It's a funny thing. I don't know if you ever saw, and this is me again digressing, but you know, on Channel 4 in the UK, the Wild World of Sports.
I used to watch it. Yeah,
you used to watch it, and you know, you watch a bit of, you know, AFL out there in the UK. I've never been exposed to AFL, but I'm gonna look at it and just see if I can understand the rules, you know. And there was a sport, and this is kind of what sort of, you know, I'm sort of, I don't know if you call it a deep thinker or my mind just wanders sometimes, but there's a sport called kabaddi on it.
As soon as you said Wild World Sports, I was thinking kabaddi. I was talking to a guy in a Uber the other day, and he was used to play kabaddi.
Oh, really?
And I was talking to him about it, and I went, I used to see it on Channel 4.
Yeah.
It's like kabaddi.
Kabaddi. And you think it looks like if you take...
What is it?
If you take...
It's like...
British Bulldogs?
Yeah, it's like a game of tag, British Bulldog. It's like mixed all together.
And a bit of wrestling and a bit of this kind of thing. So essentially it's an Indian game.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah, we get two.
Looks crazy. You're like, what the hell is going on?
They all go kabaddi.
Yeah. And the reason they go kabaddi, until you understand, you think, why are they saying kabaddi? That's stupid, you know? Yeah. And then you think, all right, having a role and try and speaking the whole time during the role. Well, I do speak a lot, but you know, trying to keep your cardiovascular fitness off while saying the same thing time and time again, non-stop. It's bloody hard. Yeah. You know? So I looked at it and said, I'm going to look at this and understand all the rules, the intricacies and tactics behind it, because I want to figure out this thing that looks so bloody dumb. Yeah. You know? And, you know, I actually got really into it.
Yeah, it's actually quite good to watch when you watch it.
You know, I got really into it. And then, you know, I got and think, is that not almost like a metaphor for life? That the things that people say, I hate cricket. I said, have you ever watched it? No, I've never watched it. All right, well, that's probably why you hate it. You know, because things that we don't understand, you know, what the skills are and stuff like that, then you know, we think, oh, it's just stupid, you know?
I always think back to when I was like training at the start, like, well, I was like 4 years in of training, and then I was we had kids, and I couldn't I was doing all the disciplines, and then I was like, I can't fit everything in. And I went to Habby and said, I can't do all the disciplines. I'm going to have to just pick one. I want to focus on one. Which one should I do? And Habby goes, do the gi. And I was like, I hate the gi. Like, I hated the gi, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I was barely doing it. And I was like, but at the time, it's a Habby-esque. And I'm just like, okay, whatever he says, I'm just going to do it, right?
Yeah.
So then I just did the gi. And then now I'm like, oh my God, thank God I did the gi. What if I just went, I don't like the gi, I'm not going to do the gi.
Yeah.
But then I do it, and then slowly you learn to love it. And then, if I hadn't have taken his advice, that's a whole thing I would just miss out on.
Would you just have missed out on?
Just missed out on.
And you know, it's funny, when I first went up to I think I did it Richie Lockett. You know Richie Lockett? Yeah, super lovely guy. And he came down to do a medical at my house. This is how I got into jiu-jitsu. And I used to run a lot, so I'd run from my house in Mount Claremont up to Joondalup and back, and do that maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So about 150 Ks on the road a week. I went down to like 78 kilos because I split up with a girl in 2007, and it was much my escape. I didn't wear headphones. I just listened to everything that was going on, you know. And then I started to get Achilles tendonitis and osteitis pubis and all that kind of stuff.
I've got.
Osteitis pubis, it's bloody sore, isn't it?
It's not good, yeah.
No.
For ages, yeah.
And anyway, I said, right, can't run, and just started to get fat and unfit and, you know, whatever. But I was still doing, you know, the combat sports medical. So Richie Lockett came down and he said, man, you should do. Oh yeah, that's right. I took a friend's dogs out for a run that had never been run before. And basically I was running sideways with my left arm forward, and I tore one of the nerves in my in my shoulder, and then I couldn't lift my arm up and stuff like that. So I started to do a few boxing tests, and they said, keep your left hand up. Can't. You know, yes, you can, keep it up. And I would just go, and it was like you're doing, like, you know, 120 kilos bench press that you just can't do, and it's just lifting your arm up. And eventually all the muscles started to go away in my shoulder, and I got an ultrasound and an MRI, and then eventually we diagnosed that we'd torn the nerve, and it was, so all my deltoid and all these kind of things weren't working, so I'd having to go on, and about 30% of them don't come back. So I was pretty down at that stage because I couldn't run, I couldn't, you know, do any boxing or anything like that, and anyway, Richie Lockett came down and said, come up to Evo, because he was at Evo with Rodrigo and Darren Reeves. And I was like, well, I got the kids during the evening and stuff like that. Oh, we do lunchtime classes. I was like, awesome, you know? So I went up, and I was like a wee bit unfit and stuff like that, but I was hooked, man. Yeah. You know, from the first class, I was just hooked. I did a BJJ event before, I think down in Roar MMA, out, I think Kane and Adam Jacks organised it. I think Kit Dale came over for it and stuff like that. Nice. That was a while back. But I was like just intrigued by it. But when I went up and started training, I was like, man, this guy's grabbing my collar and strangling me with it. It's like, how does that work?
So how long is that now that you've been doing jiu-jitsu?
Oh, 6 years, maybe. Right, I think around about that.
What belt are you now?
Purple.
Purple,
yeah. Yeah, okay. Purple. You know, and people say, you know, it's like when you get to sort of my age, like, oh, I want to be a black belt before this. It doesn't matter one button to me. And, you know, Rodrigo, the coach, said, hey, we're going to make you a purple belt. And I was like, no, I'm happy being blue. He's like, that's when we know you got to be a purple belt, when you're super comfortable.
Yeah, when you start like, no, I'm good.
I'm good.
We've got some of the guys in the class that push for it, and like it's like they're almost like going, oh, when can I get my belt? When am I going to get my belt? And I was like, it doesn't really matter. Like, again, it took me 24 years to get my black belt, because I did like 15, 16 years no gi, then I started putting the gi on, and then did it, and it was just like it took a long time for me, and it was actually James who like sorted it, like said we need to start like really push to like get your black belt because we're all under you.
I was getting close. I'm like brown, and then I was like, and then I started cornering at the MMA fights, and then they're like, oh, I'm watching the people come out, and there's like the coaches are coming for their fighters, and it's like, you know, blah 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 coach, black belt and jiu-jitsu, whatever, and then I'm like, Steve's like way better than, like, you know, he's doing it longer, he's better, and then I'm like, this is stupid now, he can't be. When he's having all these
just
fighters,
like pushing me to like, okay, I need to really push to get my next one. But I was never really bothered about belts, like, you know.
I mean, and I think, you know, in 20 years' time, oh God, I'll be old then. I'm old now, but I want to still be doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So it's just something that for me will come with just time, and I think with the time and regular training. And there'll be hiccups along the way. I know where they will. Sometimes you think, "Yo, man, I can smash anybody."
Yeah.
Louis can't tap me out.
Yeah.
He can. He's just going easy, mate. That's the reality of it. But so then there's times you go in and it's like, shit, a blue belt submitted me. Yeah. And you're just like, how did that happen? So it's not a linear course.
No.
By any stretch. But I think that sort of builds a bit of mental fortitude that. Not to get too discouraged by things that you think maybe, and again that's maybe a metaphor for life, that things will come along and bring you down a bit. But
I think that's why everyone's getting addicted by it. Because we literally had two new guys today who were rolling at lunchtime. They came in and never done, one's from rugby, one's from something else, and it's like never done it before. And he goes, I fancy doing the jiu-jitsu. I've done a bit of boxing before. They say I want to do jiu-jitsu. I was like, right, I'll give it a few times. He goes, I think I'll like it. I think you will. Yeah. But you do a few sessions, you know if you really like it, or if you don't like it. Because if you get into it, you're going to get addicted. Yeah. And you're going to be like on YouTube, and you're going to be looking at stuff, and you'll be waking up. How did he get me in this side control? And I did this again, and then he just pushed me off. And I said, you'd be really into it. Or maybe it's not your jam, and maybe the boxing is more for you. So I never push anyone, but usually they come back next week and go, I've seen this move, and when he got me last week. And
it's like when you text your coach at 6 a.m. in the morning and say, hey, I've seen this thing on YouTube. And he's just like, no answer. It's like, sorry, mate.
The amount of times in class people come in and go, I've got this move, I think this will work. Yeah. I've just seen it on YouTube, and they come over and they go, boy, James, I'm going to show you. And they do it, and they go, and you go like, you put your foot, and then you go, I'm not sure you do, but do you think it'll work? And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. I'm not sure what you're doing.
It's funny, man. Yeah. But, one of the things I did, is like trying to kiss katami, the judo side control. I really like that. And, it's a good thing, but and I think all these things. There's so much information. It's like medicine in a sense. There's so much information about. You could go. I've got a headache. What could it be? And I think without any, we've got to a stage for so long. There's been no information. So an information that we got, we cling on to, and it tends to come from trusted sources. Yeah. Now there's so much information out there, you get bombarded with it, and you don't know what to believe. Because I've seen things on YouTube, and some of it just like you look at it and go, oh, I could try. I think if you got someone like an Aikido guy that's going to comply with your every wishes, but you get a guy who's fighting for his life, it ain't going to work.
I say this to the guys all the time. I go, everything works. Yeah. Everything that you want to tell me or show me works. Yeah. If the guy is
complies.
Useless. If he does the wrong thing, that's going to work. That thing will work. Everything works. That's what I'm at. I'm at that point now where I'm just like, whatever you want to tell me, it works. Like I just say yes to everything. Because
just don't try it in competition when I'm coaching you, because I'll shout at you.
But then I'm like, now try it on me. Okay, I'm going to post you.
Yeah.
Now try it on me. Okay, I'm going to catch your leg. You see what I mean?
But that's the fun thing about it. I mean, we do coaches training, don't we, on a Wednesday, and we're doing stuff, and we always spitball and go, James, what if I do this? Now, from my opinion, I think maybe this. And you go, I never thought of that. Or he'll say something, or Kevin, or one of the other lads, it's good because you never really know. You have an idea and you have a perception, and we're black belts now, and I'm still learning. Someone shows me a new grip, and I'm like, oh, that just changed my whole game here.
I know. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when I was in Northern Ireland in school, I did windsurfing a lot, and windsurfing, I got to like the nationals and stuff. Then I was going to go for Olympic trials and stuff like that. But I got to a stage where you get to a point where you think you've got a pretty good handle on it, and your next stage up is an order of magnitude away. Right. And you have to say, hey, is that really worth it in terms of time? So you go and you really enjoy it, doing 3 or 4 times a week. Now, going and saying, hey, right, I'm going to be a competitor. I'm going to be in World Champions. I want to go to the, LA or whatever to compete. You're going to be going, twice a day, 4 or 5 times a week. Yeah. Are you willing to step it up to that level? And for the most part of the people, you have to look at it and go, hey, yeah, I'm going to do it. But you don't want to go and do a half-assed job, because there's going to be guys who do that, know. So you have to say, okay, well, that's my limit. So I actually gave away windsurfing. Even to look at a windsurf board now, I'm just like, But, I mean, certainly, you know, for me, just keep on going down that line of enjoying it. I think number one is enjoying it, learning things, you know, and, you know, some things I was like, you know, Rodrigo, we were training, you know, a few nights ago, and I was like, well, you know, when you do that, can you use that, you know, that form across their face? I'm a bit of a dirty bugger when, you know.
That's what we've been told.
when you get older, you just get a bit dirtier. You don't get any more skillful. You just get dirtier. You know. And he goes, yeah, that'll work. You know, and it's just like, yeah, it'll work. But if you're going to do it against a tough bastard, they're not going to worry about that. They don't worry about it. You know, a bit of a nose knock.
Are you still doing striking at all then, or are you just doing jiu-jitsu?
No, just doing jiu-jitsu.
Is that for any in particular reason?
Mental health for me. You know, and that I'm not doing striking.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the amount of concussions, man.
Okay,
like.
Oh, but did you do pad work or nothing like that?
Nothing.
No. Okay.
No. You know, I'm fairly time poor as it is. You know, so.
Like obviously, like you said before, you've already got a backlog of concussions.
Yeah.
So do you, in your head now, you're just like, look, jiu-jitsu is enough, right? You compete as well.
Yeah, I compete. Yeah, I compete jiu-jitsu.
I mean, it's enough, right?
Yeah.
Like you can do jiu-jitsu, you can compete in jiu-jitsu.
It floats my boat.
Yeah, exactly.
You
and
know,
then you think, okay, do you like weigh it up and go, I've got the backlog of concussions, I don't want to.
Yeah, I think certainly for me, it if I want to progress things, I progress my jiu-jitsu. I don't need to expand out. And the good thing about jiu-jitsu for me is that you're always learning. I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but you know, you get to stage and hey, I've now got my blue belt. I know what's going on. You know nothing.
No.
You know, I've got my purple belt. You know, I know what's going on. You know nothing. Yeah. You know, and you know, I think you know, as long as you realize, you know, that you always have a lot to learn. You know, then that's what keeps me coming back. If I felt I'd got it mastered, I wouldn't do it anymore.
I think there's some good points there. Lately, I've heard like some blue belts and stuff like that. You know, they're talking to their mates or whatever, and they're like, you know, like I hear them say like I'm pretty good now at jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I literally have I'm like nearly 15 years in, and now I think I'm actually pretty good at jiu-jitsu, but I've still got I know nothing still. Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty good at jiu-jitsu. I know a bit. Yeah. Now, 15 years in, I've been coaching for 6 years, and I hear people like a year, 2 years in saying exactly what you're saying. Like they're like, I'm pretty good. Like, and it's like I just feel like that now. I've never felt good. Yeah, I'm only just starting to feel like, I know a bit.
And then you'll go to a different black belt and go, whoa, he does things different. I need to pick that up. You know, you know, it's not. And for me, I feel competent in the basics. You know, is really what you can say. You know, I wish I could do things better. It'll take time, and I will be able to. But you know, and I can't rush them. You know, just keep turning up, keep learning.
That's another point I always for myself at being a coach. Like I feel responsible for all my students, and I got to teach them, and I got to have the answers for them. I'm not going to have all the answers, but I want to have the answers. Yeah. And I get like a lot of, oh, why aren't you doing striking? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing MMA class? And I'm like, I have to spend all my time doing jiu-jitsu because, I've been doing it for nearly 15 years and I'm probably still going to learn for another 15 years, still going to be learning the whole time. But so I have to spend all my time trying to like, and then
that's almost the beauty of it though, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. You know? But then any time I spend elsewhere, this time I'm not. And so I think, you know, like Steve's probably got double. He's like 30 years of martial arts experience. So he's had almost double.
35, but when it's going.
That's exactly my point, because I always think about this in my head. I'm like, Steve still teaches me jiu-jitsu. Like I'm learning things from him all the time in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And then I'm like, and he knows MMA, and he knows Muay Thai, and he knows, and I'm like, oh, like how does he know all that? And I feel like I can only put my time into jiu-jitsu. There's so much to learn. Yeah. But 35 years, you know, like I'm like 15 years, and that's not.
But then you'll get some jiu-jitsu guys who've started when they're like 7. Yeah. And in Brazil, and then they're 21, 22, and they're like far superior to anything you have at the moment. You're like, oh wow, that's crazy because they've just done it full time for the whole time. You know,
but I mean, the cliche is, you know, and it is cliche, and I hate cliches, but you know, we're all traveling our own path. You know, we're all doing it for different reasons. Yeah. You know, I don't know what I'd do or what I'd be right now without jiu-jitsu. I mean, I'm only a purple belt. You know, I'm not good.
I think
but it's
pretty good.
Well, you know, I
seem to win the comp.
I'm competent, but you know, it's you know, I go down there and I there's not very many classes which I haven't felt better afterwards than before. There's a heap of classes I've gone down to think, oh, I can't be bothered. I'm fucking exhausted, man. You know, I'm just done for the day. I've just finished work. I've had 5 hours sleep last night. You know, and then you go down and you go, I'm not going to row. And the guys go, oh, yeah, you are. And it's like, no, I'm not. Did you bring along your gi? It's on the car. And you, okay, I get it. All right, you're going to roll. You roll fucking every fucking roll.
Yeah.
You know?
And
you can't, it's really, really
super
hard. Unless you're injured where you really shouldn't. So I fractured my cheekbone earlier this year and got a plate in it. You know, and that was just passing guard on one of the guys. You know, I went to control his hips. He brought the knee up, and it just was one of those things. You know, but that kept me off for a couple of weeks. But you know, apart from that, you know, I think it's hard for me to stay away. And I get this thing. It's like, you know, if you're a party animal and you know there's a big party going on and you're sitting at home twiddling your thumbs, you feel it's the same. I'm not a party animal, but I can feel
same pool.
It's the same pool. It's like I'm missing out, and I need to get down there. You know, and even if you're crook, like, you know, I was crook with the flu last week or whatever. It went down, you know, and I'm just saying, and I'm just looking from the outside at the rolls and picking up things which I wouldn't have picked up had I actually been in the rolls going, this is useful. Plus I'm seeing all the guys and the good guys, you know, so it fulfills a number of aspects. It does.
And I was speaking about this today with one of the girls who trains here, and I was like, that was my dream of the gym, is like, even when someone's injured, they come down and they watch. Yeah. They want to be around the guys as well. It's a community, you're learning stuff, and this is where the life revolves around a lot of them, you know what I mean? So, which is amazing. It's like so cool, and that's what we wanted to happen.
It's so good that, you know, you just, you know, what would I do? I would sit at home. I'd go, oh, I feel better. Actually, I don't feel better. I'll make myself some dinner. I'll make my son some dinner. I'll go to bed. I'll not be able to sleep because I haven't been training. I'll be upset. I'll be pissed off at myself for not training. Yeah. Just go down.
Yeah.
it'll save all those issues.
Too many thinking about it.
You know?
And that's what you were saying before as well about the belts. I was thinking, like, both things can be true as well. Like, belts don't matter. Like, I give you a black belt right now, it's not going to make your jiu-jitsu any different. But they also matter as well. I was listening to a guy the other day. His whole life, he said he doesn't care about the belts. Yeah. And then when he got his black belt, his speech was, he was like, I've always said the belts don't matter. And then now he's finally made it to black belt. He went, I think they matter to me, actually. Like, they kind of don't matter, and they do matter.
It symbolizes that next step. And that part of the journey. But
I think they do matter, but they don't matter how fast you get them.
No.
And you know, if you give up at a particular stage, you've given up, and people have reasons for giving up, and you know, you can't fault them. You know, somebody, maybe family life, might be job, moving away or whatever. But for me, you know, I know if I keep going, I'll get it eventually. You know, and I might not be the most technical black belt, but you know, eventually, you know, if it's 5 years, cool. If it's 10 years, cool. If it's 15 years, cool.
Yeah, there's definitely like going to be a variation in the level of black belts, but as a collective, we've all decided as a collective that we hold that black belt to a standard. So, you know, somebody tells you I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, okay, cool.
It means something.
It means something. As a collective, as a community.
It means a lot.
Unless you're Moneyberg and you got it in 3.5 years, and we don't know.
Yeah, well, I think it means a lot. It means that you're willing to commit to something. You're not only willing to commit to something that you've taken interest to gain a technical level that very few people can.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's not like, somebody
you
tells
could become a doctor in the time it takes you to get a black belt.
Well, there's a reason why they
Paddy's
call
done
you.
that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they
Still
call
all,
you
mate.
a professor, isn't there? You know what I mean? Because it has took you a long time.
A long time,
And you've really sort of like got to I wouldn't say you mastered it, but you got a high level in that jiu-jitsu.
You're an expert in it.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you can get a, I don't know, karate black belt in a couple of years. What does it mean? Somebody says, oh, I'm a karate black belt. Okay. You know, someone says,
I got my taekwondo black belt when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And then I thought I was the bee's knees. And I seen some of the guys who got it at the same time as me. And I'm like, this doesn't mean anything.
Nah.
Because it was just a time thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a skill thing.
Yeah. I think Rodrigo, I don't know how you do it in the gym here, but he does it on time. You have to attend so many classes, plus you have to do an exam, plus, you know, it's better if you compete.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a sort of an unforeseen on the outside thing as well. It's not just a time thing or even a skill thing.
Ours is mostly monetary, isn't it? Like we just if you pay enough money,
pay enough money, you get it.
Yeah.
My bank account details are zero.
That's right.
I mean, like you got to be held to a standard. Say, like you were talking about Eagle before. Like Eagle's a black belt at the gym. There's a standard there. You don't have to be toweling up Eagle to get your black belt.
No.
But there is a level in that gym, like a Louis Ryan and an Igor, and so you know, it's not like the black belts suck and it's just get one and it's like no, we know what we're doing here.
You know, I mean, there's legit, and I would hate to think, you know, people say, oh, what's wrong with giving a guy a black belt if he's, you know, I think there's a guy who got his black belt. There's something about it in 3 years.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. That money berg.
And I was like, everybody's going to look at you and laugh, mate. You know?
Yeah, 3.5 years, but he just did privates. And
you just don't have enough time to then to learn the stuff. We're still talking about how much we're still learning now. But to learn the stuff, master the stuff, and then get to that point where you're at that level. Like, and again, you could be good in competition, but there could be a lot of other reasons as that to go along with it. Yeah. But as a practitioner and a martial artist, are you really a black belt?
Yeah, I think Kit Dale got his in 6.5 years, but he competes and he's shown that he's legitimate.
He's proved it.
Yeah.
BJ Penn, 4 years or whatever, proved it.
You proved it.
You proved
money
it.
doesn't,
outliers.
Money doesn't prove anything.
No.
Yeah.
You know, it proves you've got a lot of money. That's about it.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
buy a jet ski.
There's outliers.
There's a couple of other things we just wanted to discuss, and we're talking about obviously that, but we were talking about concussion earlier. One of my questions actually, because I've had a heap of concussions as well. I was talking about to the one of the guys who was a physio the other day. Not that it was like his speciality or anything, but is there anything like would you would suggest like treatment wise post concussion, like someone who's had a lot of concussions? Is there something you do? Because I know I'd have a little protocol that I do myself. Whether it works or not, I don't know. But there's certain things I take and I do to try and help with that, because I just obviously it worries me that how many concussions, or some of the guys have had a lot of concussions. What would you suggest to them after getting a concussion or a few concussions? What would they do? Like, is there anything supplementary wise they could take?
Yeah, so they're looking at a lot of things on this just now. They're looking at in terms of concussions, and that's mostly driven by the NFL and their class action and a few other places just now. On number one, diagnosis of concussion, it's still not that easy to diagnose. Yeah. You know, you think, oh man, if you can't remember anything and you got a headache and you're spewing up and, you know, and you've been knocked out, that's a concussion. But, you know, there's a lot of things which are concussions, which don't have any of that. Yeah. You know, so the diagnosis of concussion really now isn't as well delineated as you expect it to be. We're looking at things like biomarkers for concussion. There's something called tau protein, which we're looking at, you know, in terms of measurement of tau protein and how well that corresponds with the clinical features. So your symptoms. Right. You know, that there's been a sports concussion assessment tool that's SCAT-6. I think we're up to now, maybe even 7. Which is a more of a functional test of concussions and how well that corresponds with other biomarkers. The problem is of having a definition of something is what's a gold standard for diagnosis of it.
Yeah.
So you say, hey, the gold standard for winning a fight is getting knocked out, or losing a fight is getting knocked out. Yeah, you don't win by getting knocked. But what about if you have these really close fights? What is the gold standard? Is it a computer box where you say it's a fight standard? Is it those guys because we know guys by the side of the ring can get it wrong. We know that computer box in terms of fight, shots landed doesn't take into account necessarily the power shots. Sometimes it does, but damage caused, etc. So there's a whole pile of things. So what is the gold standard for winning fight? Well, there isn't one. What's the gold standard for concussion? Well, there kind of isn't one right now. So everything we're comparing against the best information available at the time. So number one, what is a concussion? Well, right now we know it's a functional impairment caused by damage to the brain. What to do after it? You say you've had a lot of concussions. I say I've had a lot of concussions. What treatment? That's also changing. So it used to be, listen, when I was playing rugby, you have 2 weeks off, you're back on, no matter how you feel. Now they have a graduated return to play, which you've probably heard of. For here, which is probably fairly sensible. In amateur boxing, they have a 30-day layoff period. I've had guys both in Muay Thai and rugby who have had a clear concussion and give me a call 6 months later saying, I can't even go for a jog without a migraine.
Right.
So time periods themselves aren't that useful. We used to think just resting the brain, so having really no stimulation for 48 hours and then having a bit of neurological stimulation, then having a bit of physical stimulation was the way to go. There's controversial sides on these, and without information on these things that's new right now, all new information takes time to come into full effect because you have one paper or whatever saying, hey, you must rest the brain, no computers, nothing for 48 hours. It takes time for then another paper to say, hey, this doesn't make any difference because you have to test it.
Right.
So what we do in medicine is we have this thing saying, I think this probably works. Let's do a micro study to see if it works. Yes, it probably works. Let's do a big study to see if it works. All right, cool. Are there any confounding variables which might confuse that, that we need to get rid of to actually see if that's a legitimate study? Okay, let's put this forward as a major study. We do the major study, and then we try and disprove it.
Right.
Because only by not being able to disprove it do you know it's true. And even, with these things, studies can come out, 5 years down the track and go, actually, what we thought about this actually is probably not right. Yeah. Which means that the rate of change of the information that you're getting, especially on something that's relatively new like concussion, in terms of, it's only in the last 20, 30 years, is slow. You get someone saying, hey, this is the right way to go. And everybody takes that as a dogma and is now, this is the right way to go. Take 2 weeks off, get back onto the field. Okay, that's now no longer dogma. Now do your graduated return to play. And then now we're looking at it and going, hey, is this actually, the best thing for fighters? Or should we neurologically stimulate them a bit earlier? We don't know. So that's a long way of saying we're not sure.
So having said that all that, there's nothing that you would personally do that think might help. Like, it's in not like say that might have been medically proven or whatever, but there's nothing that you think, because I'm just going by stuff I've seen and read or whatever. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's the way to go because people seem to be doing that. I'll just give it a try.
So a lot of things on the web are very quick things. Now, it's like saying, well, the easiest way to win a fight is knock him out. Just knock him out. You're good. Yeah. It's not quite as simple as that.
That's all I say in the corner.
Just fucking knock him out. There's a Kimura there. Take it.
Just stand up.
Yeah, that's right. And it just isn't as simple as that. And And the problem about is developing these improvements in medicine and sports medicine do take time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like sports medicine, we're looking at a few different things, and we can talk about weight cutting if we've got time.
I want to do that, the last one, yeah.
Is that we can put something forward, but it takes time to show that it works. And in that, we're just under trial. Now, anything that goes out on Google or social media, whatever, doesn't need any of that. No. It's just like, fire it out, it's true. You know, I saw something yesterday on taking fish hooks out of people's skin who get them, and and it's like, man, that's a great gadget. It'll earn you a lot of money, but I'm damn sure they'll buy it and it'll never work.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know, you can put anything out on social media.
Yeah, anyone could do anything.
Anything would do anything, you know, and that's the problem.
That's why I was asking you for the list.
Steve wants you to give him a supplement that he can take.
Yeah.
And Paddy's like, he's really like, he's walking around here trying to...
But I wish I could say, you know.
That's good, it's good.
You know, there are things like N-acetylcysteine, which are known to help in sort of liver detoxification when you take, a few things. Whether that helps, I don't know. They're looking at a few different bits and pieces. I can't give you an answer without being confident that my answer is correct.
Fair enough.
You know? Yeah.
So the last thing I want to chat about, again, we asked a few questions. They're all the roundabout stuff we've already actually really covered. But the last one was obviously a few questions about weight cutting. And like, obviously, what's your opinion on weight cutting? Is there any way we can do any better? Obviously, it's a massive question because they're not even like the WA Commission. They were doing studies to see like, we're going to put things in place to then maybe do something to help with weight cutting. I myself was like being a martial arts a whole life. I can't think of a way to make it safe. This basically make it a bit safer, but to completely cut weight cutting out, I don't know how you would do it. Because everyone wants the advantage. And again, I've gone through coaching so many people, some of them trying to really push the limit of the weight cutting, which I don't like really approve of like to that extent. And other people where they haven't really cut that much weight and they've gone against guys who've been so much bigger and it's been such a disadvantage. But there's lots of cons to weight cutting. It'd be wicked if you just turn up and then just fight. But then how do you do that? You know,
one of my friends, he's quite a clever guy, but he said to me, Paddy, you can't fatten a pig by weighing it. You know, so you can measure whatever you want to measure, but it doesn't actually help anything. You know, what you have to do is then feed the pig. You know, and that's probably a bit inappropriate in this kind of thing, but. So I don't know if you remember the death of Jessica Lindsay, the 17-year-old. I'd said a couple of years before that to the commission, number one, it was a cage ban, which was an issue in terms of threats to competitors. Yeah. Number two, it's weight cutting, and I said that, and we need to look at it. Nothing was done, but that's all right. That's by the by right now. So I thought long and hard, talked to a lot of people about it in the medical fraternity about what the best way to find out it was. We looked at a number of different things, same day weigh-ins, et cetera, et cetera. Well, and everybody would come up with a what about this? It's like that. Like does this work? How's this entry into Kimura? Would this work? It's like but this is the issue with it. So. I thought, what is a major issue in weight cutting? Well, what is weight cutting? Weight cutting is acute loss of water, essentially before a fight, and then putting it back on to try and be as heavy as you can. The problem is both people are doing it, so you end up, almost in size times as how good a weight cutter are you? Yeah, it doesn't make it safer. In fact, it makes it more harmful. And the reason weight classes were put in place was to make it safer so big guys wouldn't fight small guys. Yeah. But it's actually had a counterproductive effect. It's like not everything in medicine is logical or in fighting is logical. You think, it's a great idea, but sometimes great ideas don't work. So I thought, what do you want to know? Well, you want to know how much weight they lose. How do you know how much weight they lose? Well, you got to have a starting point, an ending point, and a time. Yeah. So your ending point is clearly their weighing weight. Their time can be variable. And what's the starting point? Well, and it's something that's not really asked that often is like, what's your walk around weight? You know, now you have a guy and say, I walk around at, 85 kilos, or me, I walk around at sort of 91 kilos. If I then said, all right, I want to enter a contest at 72 kilos, people say you're fucking mad. But it happens.
Yeah.
So I think, my goal would then be, how do I get down to 72 kilos? Well, it's going to be diet for, 10 weeks, 15 weeks or something like that. And then, we'll maybe get 6 or 7 kilos off in the last week with water loading and weight cutting and stuff like that. And that's a common kind of scenario, but what happens if we said, hey, you weigh 92 kilos, you can't enter a contest, put yourself forward for a contest. That's less than 6% less than that. So say, 84 kilos.
Yeah.
Then there'll be 0 point almost in you trying to weight cut. But what do you have to have? You have that starting weight, and people will put a weight a lot lighter than they would normally have, just to try and get into a lighter weight category.
Or the cut weight to do that starting weight.
Oh, they cut weight to do that starting. And we know that because in WBC, when Danny Green's fighter was over here, we had to do a weigh-in a month out, a week out, and 24 hours out. The damage behind that is that you might be cutting weight 3 times in a month before fighting, which is probably not great. So all these things have negative effects. So looking at this, I said, let's have a register of active fighters. Active fighters are fighters who can fight, and they have to declare their weight every 6 months, and that'll have to be signed off by their coach.
Yeah.
If they're active fighters. If you haven't fought for 2 years, you're not an active fighter. Doesn't matter, But then be an active fighter, so you're going to be training for 6 months, before you have a fight. You can declare that, say, this is my fight weight. And if you want to change it, go in and weigh at the commission and say, hey, I elect to change my declared weight. Yep. You have to prove that you're not dehydrated or anything like that, and you go in and declare your weight. And as at the commission, for one half day a week or a fortnight or a month, why don't you just go down and do 3 or 4 gyms, just rock up the door and say, hey, we're going to get you guys on the scales, all the active fighters. And you got to be in within a percentage of your declared weight to know that it's not bullshitting. And your coach isn't bullshitting. Then so from that point of view, we'd know a starting weight. Starting weight it would be fairly easy to determine a fight weight. Yeah. And when you determine that fight weight, you then, I'm 92 kilos. I want to fight at 71. No, you can't enter that fight. There's no point. You have to fight within a percentage, and those percentages could then be, looked at and said, hey, this is what it is. If you want to enter at 84, that's reasonable. Stuff like that. International fighters would have to declare their weight over there to their commission in their country and show that it's valid, and then come across and have another weight check here. So I think it's definitely doable. Yeah. Hydration tests don't work. No. We know that. We know ONE FC does them, but we know they don't work. Yeah. And I've heard, I don't know how true it is, that you can just pay people to say
I haven't heard that.
But there's a lot of things. Can we do a hydration test? Can we do these series of weigh-ins? That's fine, but it's a lot of work for the commission. It's a lot of work for everybody to do, 3 weigh-ins for 1 fight show. Yeah. It's hard enough with one. So I think the best thing to do would be to declare it, and have random spot checks of say, hey, I'm going to Wolf's Den, I'm going to go to Riddler's and see what your guys, hey, hop on the scales. Oh, you're 2 kilos lighter, that's fine. You're 10 kilos lighter? Really?
Yeah.
You're bullshitting,
Yeah.
Or heavier than you do.
Yeah. It's such a hard one because everyone's going to try and work around it best they can. And even to the point of that, you'd have to do like spot checks with the commission. They'd come out and they go, and everyone starts realising the commission only come out at 4 o'clock onwards, or they come out at this time. And then, we're not going to train that time. We're going to train
But if it's random,
there's always something.
If it's whatever day, you might not get
that's what it should. Yeah,
it might not be. It might not be. This gym then or whatever. Yeah. It's just like, hey, they decide, hey, I'm going to take a half day this day. I'll just go and do, I don't know, this gym. I'll go down and do Synergy today. I'm going down that way anyway.
I think it's a good idea because you're going to catch a lot of people out who really cutting a lot of weight. I mean, some people are going to slip through, but they're always going to slip through, and everyone's always going to try and beat it, whatever they can do.
But, if you're an active fighter, you should be in the gym regularly.
Yeah, you should be,
if you're never showing up to a gym and saying you're an active fighter in the gym, are you really fit to fight anyway?
No.
And we both know, what, I don't know, the big, fighters classes, you can get a schedule of them that, of each gym and say, hey, and just let them know, hey, we're going to pop out at some stage within the next 6 months.
Yeah.
It's not too onerous.
I think, it's a good way to go. I mean, it's so hard to deal with it. And I've always thought in my head, there must be a way. I must be able to think of a way where you can get around this weight cutting. But everyone wants the advantage. Everyone wants to be bigger. Doesn't want to be the small guy. Wants to be have the strength. And then they go, I'm going to cut as much as I possibly can, but be healthy, and not go into a cage and then be like depleted. Because then we're seeing too many people do that as well. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that have better fights because number one, concussions are a lot less when you've got a bit of spinal fluid or cerebrospinal fluid around your brain to give you a bit of cushioning.
And I talked about it last time. Safer. The worst, only one time I've been knocked out was when I did a horrific weight cut, and I had the worst concussion. I had like post-concussion syndrome.
Yeah.
And I had it really bad. And that was because I was super dehydrated.
Yeah.
It was just really bad. But then, again, I don't agree with weight cutting. I don't like it, but it is part of it. And it's like, you want to compete with people and you want to get higher and you want to get better and stuff. And it'd be wicked if there's a way we could get around it, where everyone would follow it and there's rules and there's checks and things like that.
There's a good point to say that the fights would be better as well.
Yeah,
you guys
100%.
aren't
Better.
100%.
Well, the guys who are awesome in the gym and they roll and fight, and then they get in, they do a big weight cut, and they just seem to flag.
They're struggling. There's something struggling. Maybe like their legs aren't firing properly. They can't move around, like things like that. Yeah. So
So I think
it would be good for the promoters. It would be good for everybody if you could work it out
and safer. And I think you need to have a starting point. Yeah. And the problem is people not declaring their starting point. Yeah. Now the commission put forward, like, hey, what's your certificate of fitness, weight and stuff like that. That's all fine, well and good, but nobody's checking it.
No.
And I think that's the issue.
Even in the gym, I go to the guys. I go, "What's your weight like?"
Good.
Oh, what's your weight? I say, "What is your weight?" Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's good? Oh, it's weight. What's on the scales? Oh, no, I just had food.
Yeah.
I just had food. I'm like, no, get on the scales because I need to know where you're at. Don't get, you're not going to miraculously be like, it's so heavy.
Yeah.
And that's even with me.
Yeah,
I have to force them onto the scales.
You're just about to train, you've just had a big dinner. Okay.
And then also last night I did this and that.
I get it all the time because I ask them and they come in and, they'll come in, when we do the certificate of fitness, what's your weight? Oh, but I just ate and I just, it's like, my clothes weigh a lot, You get everything. I've got weights in my pockets. No, you don't, mate.
It's funny. It's a tough one to get around.
Well, I think for it, we need a starting weight, an end weight. The end weight's easy and a time frame.
A definite starting weight. Where you definitely can check on it. No one can lie. Because even if you said your coach has got to sign it off. I mean, I wouldn't sign it off. And that's me saying that. Yeah. But then some people may sign it off.
Well, I think, if you got them onto the scales and said, hey, jump on the scales, I want you to do your weight in front of me.
Yes.
That on, whatever, 25th of July, your weight is this. Yeah. I'll sign off on that. Yeah. If you give me some bullshit story, then I'm sorry, but, I'm going to tell you it's a bullshit story.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
That's not good. There is one more question I want to ask. Yeah,
sure.
So this is from last week's podcast. So I just want to ask this question: Is there any benefit from being chalked out?
Chalked out?
Chalked out.
So like
chalked unconscious.
You
put to sleep. Is there any benefit from it?
No.
Yeah, exactly, mate. He goes, I seen something online. Oh, there's some benefits to it. I'll find it, Robin.
New studies say they're finding benefits to being choked out.
I don't see any physiological reason why there would be. I'm not saying there isn't, but I don't see any physiological reason. I don't think
he's being nice.
He's a good politician. This guy. He rides a fence with these questions.
But it's is there any real deficit? Is getting punched out the same as getting choked out? No, it isn't.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Getting choked out is definitely more. better for your brain.
No, it's bad.
So we just clip that a little bit. Getting kicked out is better.
I said that before. I said that.
Then getting punched out.
Yeah, but I'll just clip it and I'll say that it means what I said.
Yeah, so anecdotal evidence is that you get choked out once your brain, for whatever, learns about it, if you want, and it says you're more likely to get tapped out or get choked out more quickly the next time. I don't know how true that is. That's just people saying things.
Yeah.
So
obviously, like you saying, okay, maybe there's no. So yeah, okay, that's another point, right? Maybe it's not good for you, but I did see a study saying that there's new studies saying that it's actually good for you, but
didn't show us
I
the
can't
studies.
I have fun. Maybe I dreamed about it. Or maybe it's just.
Because then I said to him, "Oh well, if it's good for you, what if I choke you out on this podcast?
Yeah,
and it's fine. You get some benefits." He's like, "Oh nah."
Okay, put your money where your mouth is.
Let's wipe that one. But some people do ask me, is it bad for you? Okay, let's say just that initial, I get put to sleep. And Steve puts me to sleep, and then let's go straight away.
Yeah.
Tuesday night.
And then we we come back. Okay, so first question, is there any detrimental effects there? And then second question, obviously, if he holds it for a certain amount of time, I think it's like 4 minutes or something, I can die, right? So there's a range there between maybe no ill effects at all to death.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So the answer to the question is we don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. What I can say is that the logical answer is that the shorter that you're choked out for, the less detrimental it is.
He was going to say better, but he was about to say better.
Yeah, I know. He was
see that. I seen that. He went, worse.
Yeah. So I think in terms of it being in terms of seconds, then I think the long-term effects of that are likely to be negligible.
Yeah.
If you're holding it for a long period of time where you've actually got what we call ischemia in your brain, where we actually start to change from a normal functioning brain into someone that doesn't have a flow of oxygen, doesn't have a flow of glucose, and has cellular changes in that period of time, then that may well have an ongoing effect. What period of time that is I don't know, and it probably varies from person to person as well.
Because obviously, if you just don't let go, then they can die, right?
Yeah.
So, that's like a pet peeve of mine in the movies. Every single time a good guy chokes out a bad guy, he chokes him out, puts him to sleep, lets him, and then off he goes to save someone. And then before you know it, the bad guy's back because he's just woke up. He feels good because it's actually good for him. So now it's even better. And then he comes back and takes it. So I'm like, why don't you just in the movie, like just give me 5 minutes.
Give me 5 minutes.
Just hold it. You kill the bad guy.
Yeah.
Then you go save the rest of the people, right?
Yeah.
Every movie's like, okay, now he's asleep. Off he
Doof
goes.
off. It's a boop.
Yeah, you actually made the guy better because in my mind.
So the last thing we've learned is really that all your studies are from movies. Okay, so we'll finish on that. Thanks for coming in, Paddy.
Pleasure.
Anything else you want to say? Are you good?
No. I think we got in combat sports here. Things can be better, and the commission, the promoters, the trainers should work together to improve things, and there's a bit of a way to go there. And that needs to be, and the doctors obviously with Dan and myself needs to happen to improve things for combat sports in WA.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think so. All working together. About a number of things, but I'm not going to go into that now. Cool. Thanks for coming down. Much appreciated.
And thank you for what you do as well for
100%,
all the fighters and being there.
When I turn about a fight and then Dan's not there, I'm like, who's this? Who's this person? This is not right.
Well, I mean, I think one of the problems is that you get inexperienced people doing this, and it can make things worse. Yeah. It really can. And I've seen guys on the side of rugby pitches doing crazy stuff, Just one last one. I remember driving down Scarborough Beach Road, and the cars were all backed up, and there was a guy down in the middle of the road. So I stopped my car, I got out of the car, and I said, "Is everything okay?" And they said, "Yeah, it's okay, I'm a doctor." And it's like, clearly didn't really have much of a clue about what was going on. I was like, all right, can we get this guy off the... People were still driving 60 k's an hour down the other side of the road. And I was like, can we get this guy off the road? Oh, no, we have to be worried about it. I was like, he's not going to be the only casualty here. One of us is going to get picked up as well. Yeah. Anyway, the guy opened his eyes and said, all right, can you have a sore neck? No, it's all right. All right, let's get you to, coming over to this side of the road. We'll sit you down. And he does epileptic crossing the road, had a bit of a seizure. I said, all right, so what kind of doctor are you? And he goes, oh, I'm a psychiatrist. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm
a professor.
Yeah.
We actually, one more thing. We had one thing, me and Robin were on the plane once. It was the funniest thing ever. There's a young guy, well, not that young, but younger than me. Everyone's young. He was sat next to me here, and he's on his computer. And it came over. It's twice I've been on planes come over. It's go, oh, is there a doctor on the plane? We've got something down the back. There's a doctor on the plane. And initially, he'd been waiting for that since he's become a doctor, I think. Really? He was stood on his thing, and he just shuts his laptop, and he just says it. I wasn't even looking at him. He goes, I knew this day would come. and then literally he stood up and he walked down the back. Like he marched down the back, and I'm like, did he just say that? No Robin's next to me. I'm like, we think we would come back from Robin plays wheelchair rugby. We're coming back from the game, and then I was like, did he just say that? And literally 2 minutes later, he came down, sat down, and he goes, there's already two there. And then there's only two doctors there.
I always respond to the second call only. I've had a nightmare actually. Flight back from Frankfurt to Singapore. We had 3 patients on the plane.
Wow.
Which was entertaining, but it was a dodgy flight. I just sat down for dinner, and I don't know if you want to hear this now or
go. Yeah.
So the stewardess said, "Is there a doctor on the plane?" And I was like, "Man, I've just had one glass of red wine with dinner. I'm just about to nut off." It's like, "All right, is there a doctor on the plane? Any doctors?" It's like, "All right." And just one person said, "Yeah, I'm a doctor." So, "Oh, can you come quickly?" This guy was. So this guy was in the seat, and he was white as a ghost and semi-conscious. Wow. So I was like, "Shit." Anyway, we got him down on the ground, measured his pulse, and it was like 25. Right. It's like, all right, we got to give him something to get his pulse back up, And it was a Lufthansa plane, so we went and got to the medicine, and they were, they should be all generic, but they were a lot of them were in German. And I found this stuff like Buscopan, So it's right. I'm just going to make this guy an overdose of Buscopan because it brings the heart rate up. So I gave him like 5 tablets of Buscopan where he can just about swallow, and his heart rate came up. And I was like, phew, and his colour came back, and he felt a bit better. I was like, oh, thank God for that, because he was like, it didn't look good at all, peri-arrest. And then they said, oh, there's this other guy, I wonder if you can have a look at him. And I was like, fuck. And it was like, all right, and this guy's going, and it was like, you all right? It's like, yeah. I've got really bad pain in my chest, and it's like, oh, have you ever had it before? Yeah, I had it about 3 weeks ago when I had a heart attack and went to the hospital. I was like, what are you doing on the plane? I wanted to go and do a walking trail in Borneo. And I was like, oh Jesus Christ. So anyway, we got him sorted, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go sit down, I'm going to go to sleep. Anyway, a stewardess came up and said, hey, are you the doctor? And I said, yeah, the guy's doing all right. Yeah, but we got this other patient who was like a 18-year-old girl who'd just been diagnosed with metastatic breast carcinoma, breast cancer. Yeah. And she was freaking out, and she was trying to open the doors of the plane and all that kind of stuff. And so I went out and tried to sedate her, and it's like, and she was like really going off her rocker. I was like, it's all right, let's just sit down and we'll get some. You don't know what it's like, fucking breast cancer at 18 years old. Yeah. It's like, oh, just... And then the guy again in the back, the first guy I saw collapsed again, and I had to give him more of that. And I'm just going to sit with this guy the whole fucking flight,
No days off.
Yeah, no days off. Okay. But it was
the stewardess comes on and goes, actually, I got this bad elbow. And
actually, I got a sore boob.
All right, well, we'll call it there, because that was quite a good long one. How long was that one? Oh, wow. So we usually do an hour.
Sorry.
Oops, so that's good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, interesting,
that was awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Pick up my son at 3. Oh, shit. I'll
all right. Yeah. We'll let you go. All right. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Okay, cheers.